and welcome to Ikike Digest, your learning space on Home FTV. I am Kome Odomo. On Ikike Digest, we aim to continuously bring to light environmental issues as it affects our ecosystem and provide our listeners with critical environmental information and analysis. In today's edition, we will be considering the topic Roots and Resilience, a lifetime in the fight for our environment. To embark on this vital conversation, we're incredibly honored to be having a true pillar of the environmental justice movement with us. For over 5 decades, his work has skillfully connected the fight for a healthy planet with a struggle for social equity, championing the idea that environment isn't a separate issue, but a foundation of human dignity and well-being. He is a mentor to generations of activists and a fearless voice for the voiceless. It is our privilege to welcome Comrade Che Ibeguwara to share more about his resilience and the roots of environmental justice movement in Nigeria. You're welcome, Senior Comrade.
Thank you.
And how does it feel being a non-Nigerian?
Well, I'm grateful to God
Yeah.
for me to be an Nigerian. I'm 94 now, and I think I'm reconciling myself more with nature. Unlike when I was young, getting and I was controlled by the influence of material life. Presently now, I'm associating more with the structure of spirit over matter.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to God that I'm living in this community. I'm the second person. Rema is one of the most populous and spacious, rural community in the former Ahoda province. Now, divided into four local government council areas. That is Ahoda East, Ahoda West, Abua Odwa, and Oba Ebema. These local government council areas. Irema is the most populous and spacious indigenous, community, excepting Ahoda, that is, can say 50% stranger elements. Omoku also, Ahoda is the local government headquarters of Ahoda East. Omoku is also the local headquarters of Oboibema district. These are the two, local government headquarters that is more populous than Irema.
Okay.
So I'm now the second in command. After the first citizen is myself. So you can see what I have passed through.
A lot.
For the 94 years, when I look back, I know it's a long journey with a long story.
Yes. So we read about your biography that was titled "The Last Militant," and we have learned a lot about your activism that has spanned from labor to social movement to environmental issues. Can you take us through the journey, telling us what inspired and empowered this long-term activism of yours?
Yes, there's something I come to understand. Not minding educational force and how we relate to events. Reactions are different, but I believe in one thing. There's destiny to a cause. Everything is destined. Everything have, what we call laws governing their, activism. You just don't come into this world for coming sake. I know. At this age, I come to understand that anything either created or otherwise in existence now is for a purpose, not for fun.
True.
And I just feel our scientists and other things, they are doing other things. We should concentrate more on the advancement of the society and later follow up other aspects of development gradually than all the time wasting our time and all that to find out how the world came about. The world has just come. we should concentrate more on the future
Hmm.
than on the past.
Yeah. So let's talk about the current inconsistency that is gradually becoming a norm in our society today. We would like to learn from you what helped you to keep your consistency for the struggle for justice, and what's the link between environmental and social injustice? Why is the environment so important to you?
Yes, because in actual fact, I'm a part and parcel of the environment.
Mm.
That's the thing. I'm concerned. There's a type of general networking as far as environment is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
We try to detach ourselves from the environment and otherwise and look at the environment as something different from our own existence. So when we're dealing with the real environment, we think we're dealing with something else. We traumatize because of human activism and due to the greediness of the ruling class, we make many mistakes. What concerns me is to know why I am here.
Mm.
And my companions, other creatures that are around me, I recognize them, recognize myself.
Recognizing other beings.
Yes, because what we need is justice for all,
Mm.
not palliatives, not aids. What human beings and other creatures need is justice. And what is justice? Giving each and every one of us to develop according to the law and command of the Creator.
Mm.
That's what is keeping me alive. I believe that I'm a parcel and parcel of the what we call the planet of Mother Earth. There are other planets.
True.
There are other planets.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the only planet. We have laws governing our own planet. Other planets have laws governing them. We shouldn't feel supreme. We should try to understand that there's something networking all of us. And what I'm after is to see that there's peace, love, and equity, structured on one common understanding of one God, one global village of this planet called Mother Earth, and one destiny.
Yeah. So, in course of all this your struggle, we know that you must have been mentored by a few back then as a young man. Can you tell us who those mentors or influencers, as the case may be, when you started the journey, and what was the most crucial lesson that you learned from them?
This is a very tough question. I can say it is not accidental. That's why when I started making a comment here, I said destiny. Everything is guided by a law. You know, I felt I was being guided to meet people like Mokugo. First is one Igbo man called Mokugo Koye. By then I was just, I think, around 24 years. And that was when I started this activism at the age of 24. He was trying to teach us most of all these revolutionary attitudes, directing us to understand the evil effect of all these capitalist tendencies and, developing our vision to see how foreign intervention was affecting us negatively. Like this educational system and all that, you know, when we came up without being colonized by the British, we had our own culture. We were developing on our own
Mhm.
until they came in through trade, one way or the other. established certain institutions for us to follow in order to follow their step and all that. And somebody like Moku Gokoye was advising us about the disadvantages of this intervention by the foreign exploiters. At that time, the things were sounding strange to me. But after some times, I got employment. Then I became a cadre in the trade union. After which, I joined the trade union. And that was a time the Eastern Bloc education of, call it socialism, Marxism, or anything of the sort, started creeping into the country. And I became attracted to read Marxist principles. I first became attracted to Dr. Chike Obi, who was then the leader of the Dynamic Party. As at that time, I cannot afford to differentiate the different ideologies. That you see, this Dr. Chikobi was more or less a fascist, but there was some socialist principles that attracted my own feeling. I fell prey to him, became the secretary of the party, both in Port Harcourt and in Lagos. But later, I started representing Dynamic Party in social meetings of the labor movement. That time, labor movement was under the control of people like Esco Toyo. I don't know whether you might have heard about that man.
Yes.
These were the people who brought me up in the labor movement. Esco Toyo, Dr. Kolabode, A.O. Imodu, people like many of them. I can't name them now. I became involved, life and soul, in that movement. That's how I developed my socialist tendencies. That's how I committed myself to fighting for justice, even risking my life, through which I've been baptized seriously in the circle of detention, through which also I developed the courage and have now conquered fear, conquered poverty, and conquered death. This is how I came up. After some times, I became the manager of certain minorities movement under the leadership of the late Dr. M.T. Akobo and Ete Douglas. I became the manager of certain minority movement and was coordinating movement for national reformation controlled and led by the late Anthony Enahoro. This was when I reached my peak. When I left the struggle on the political side, I was already the state secretary of the Unity Party of Nigeria. I brought Awolowo to this town. By then I was just a young one developing. When I retired from that, I entered into human rights activism. And I met people like Simobu. After Simobu, I met with OND, Oronto Natai Douglas. And it was Oronto Natai Douglas that connected me with, I can say, apostolic comrade. There are more prefix for the apostolic comrade, Reverend Doctor Architect Nemo Adolphe Bassi. And I can say, to be honest, Bassi brought me to the stage I am today. He's my junior. But, you know, it was not my field before. But by my advancing, that's why I believe in destiny. I was taken to that direct source where I am today and where I have been able to develop that spirit and courage to make the world understand that what we need is justice and the curtailment of greedy appetite.
Mm. Okay, so a while ago you mentioned the word comrade,
Yeah.
and this is a word that has been used and it's still being used till today,
Yeah.
and it shows a deep commitment for a collective struggle. But
Yeah.
how has this philosophy of working together rather than individually shaped your approach of environmentalism?
No, that is, I, sometimes I still talk of commitment to a cause,
Mm,
which is simply referred to as destiny.
mm,
You know, when you have chosen a cause from the spiritual angle, nothing will deter you from reaching the end of it. And naturally, too, nature will make it possible for you to reach your climax. Whatever is destined can never be changed.
mm,
Otherwise, I have not reached here today. I would have died during the war. You know, during this Nigerian Biafran Civil War, only one Christmas I know outside. The rest I was detained. Biafra detained me. Nigeria detained me in maximum security prisons, accusing me of being a leftist and I was a communist agent and all that. But it is just because I was fighting for the justice of the common man. And from the background of trade unionism, I come to understand that every worker is an industrial slave. Every worker is an industrial slave. And the social wealth is created by the social labor of the working class and the peasantry. But the greedy appetite of capitalism, imperialism, that the purpose is to control what you call the social activities, the natural resources of the whole world,
mm.
has been able to cloud our interest for justice. From this angle, I started knowing one small thing or the other and committed myself to believing that the only way we can afford to free ourselves is also to know the way we are being controlled. We must use what we have to fight for our right. And since we are controlled by the force of arm, it is also the force of arm that will be able to free us. And that is why I believe in armed struggle as a form of resistance. I'm not a terrorist. There's big difference between terrorism and militancy.
Mm.
Who manufactured the gun? For what purpose? All those arms at the initial stage was used to protect the life of human beings. The purpose of manufacturing gun was not to kill others. You see the point? So, to be very honest, I can say the basic of my being in the struggle is to see that there is a world structured on peace, love, and equity. Not only justice. Justice is giving everybody according to his contribution. But equity is given to everybody. You take from everybody what he can be able to put and give back to them what they need. That is the new world order of peace, love, and equity. But to start with, we want justice, to equality, to equity.
Hmm. Environmental justice,
Yes,
social justice
yes.
is not palliative for the people. We'll take a short break, and when we return, you'll continue to hear how resilience and the roots of environmental justice movement in Nigeria can be sustained.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Austerity leads to autocracy, and it leads to autocracy because the political class that has nothing to offer young people wants to stay in power, and because they want to stay in power, they then become more repressive. The fact that everywhere you go, you see all this litter in the streets, you see everything, all this haphazard type development, chaos, and so on. A lot of all of that is really because Africa is inhabited by apathy. Africa is inhabited by a lot of fatalism. People believing that it was written in the stars that we should be poor, we should be haggard, we should be unfortunate, etc., etc., etc.
Welcome back. You've been listening to the Senior Apostolic Comrade Ibeguwara, who has been speaking on the topic, The Roots and Resilience, a Lifetime in the Fight for Our Environment. Senior Comrades, before we went on the break, you were talking about the struggle. And then looking back, you mentioned the setbacks that you have had. So we would like to know how this movement itself, how has the change been in this movement itself, and in your view, what has been gained and what have we lost with the rise of digital activism and the global awareness compared to the grassroots community organizing models in the past?
This is a very big question. Also, to be very honest, I can't say that the world is not growing. The world is growing. You see, one other weak point we have is that we believe in copyrights. We don't believe to be
Authentic.
yes contented with what we produce and trying to advance it. And not only that, our military and I can say the ruling class, I can use the word wicked. They are wicked. I'm making reference on the Nigerian issue. Put it on the rightful perspective. You could see how Obasanjo came out, used military power to enact the land use decree, which is a crime against nature, a crime against the people. But do you know one thing? Nigeria tolerated this decree till today. It's a fiat from the army. And even in the Nigerian constitution, it says that it's a go-no area. It's a no-go area. Tell me, a society of civilized people, intelligent people, Nigeria is one of the most populated African community, can tolerate that land use decree, where all the resources of a whole nation, most populous and all that, when you talk of mineral, can be controlled by a few corrupt oligarchy to control it, keeping the indigenes that own the land and would have harvested the land to be, at least to give life and understanding. And the source of which would have established the principles of justice, all these things were destroyed. We start fighting ourselves. They destroy the environment. They traumatize the soil. They terrorize everything that is organic in the society. Polluted the atmospheric compounds, poisoned life. And Nigerians were tolerating it. Even the working class were tolerating it. Even the peasants were tolerating it. A few class of people start controlling the mineral wealth of a nation like Nigeria. Especially when you talk of the southern part of Nigeria, where the resources are kept, because they are Southern Nigeria is a confluence of River Niger and River Benue. And as a confluence, that is where the mineral settled. Obasanjo was good enough to enact the land use decree. And the United Nations, who wrote the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in the article said all these races, all these tribes, the indigenous should control their social wealth. They kept quiet. All these laws, inhuman laws, were recorded in a constitution for the people. The United Nations kept quiet because it is in the United Nations that the wealth, the social wealth created by the social labor of the working class and the peasantry is being distributed. And most of all these radical groups are knocking at the door of the last chamber where this wealth of nations are distributed. Nigeria is not excluded. This is the source of crimes in the country. When you deprive the people of their resources, you are inviting crime. And when you are inviting crime, you are inviting the death of those things that make the place a God-given place. There's no more godliness in those places. What you will see is inhuman actions. Some of the crimes you see today in the country are reactions to events in the country. Nothing springs up for fun. And as the environment is traumatized, it affects we, the human beings, also.
Yes.
And all these factors must be taken into consideration.
Yeah. So finally, the senior comrade, sir.
Yeah.
For you, the fight for environmental justice is a marathon. It is not a sprint.
At all.
And at the age of 94, we see that you haven't given up the struggle for environmental justice.
Yeah.
We would like to know how you have maintained the strength, the stamina to avoid being burnt out, and what's your message for the young generation on how to keep hope and resilience alive?
Yes. I think this question, I don't know who asked this question before. Then I was telling them that we can't leave this battle to the youth alone. But for the youth to start battling for justice and free from themselves from the entanglement of corruption and suppression of all these people that are looting the wealth of the nation. First, they must conquer fear, conquer poverty. Because poverty, as a matter of fact, is the battle of the brain. Poverty is an impression of, how do I put it? Poverty is an impression of the depression of the understanding of human beings to know their right. If not so, if I might have developed the understanding, because there is no power as powerful as mental power. If I have been able to know what my right is, conquer fear, conquer poverty, and conquer death, nobody could come and start exploiting oil in Ege land under any circumstances without our being partakers from the social wealth. And the civilians fail to understand one thing, and the soldiers also fail to understand the same thing, that every soldier is a civilian in uniform. And every civilian is a soldier on leave.
A soldier on leave.
So when we are able to reconcile most of these aspects of understanding, When we can understand that there is no power as powerful as that of mental power, to come together and recognize the fact that we must conquer fear, we can never be free. The NGOs, really, they are doing a very nice job. But we must know that he who pays the piper dictates the NGOs teach the people their rights. They don't guide the people how to fight for that right. They only teach the people and stop there. And that is also the policy of those who are sponsoring these NGOs. I don't know whether you get at me.
Yes, I get the message.
Otherwise, the NGOs are doing nice job, but to a point. But let me ask a question. Why is the United Nations allowing the world powers to be manufacturing material that will destroy people instead of materials that will enhance the life of the people? They stock arms, stock, bombs to bomb a place, and they say they are United Nations. United for what? That is my question to the United Nations. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, our guest today has been Senior Apostolic Comrade Che, the last militant, as he's always been referred. You would agree with me that this has been a very interesting and eye-opening message. We do hope that the wisdom and experience from this remarkable life of Comrade Che Ibeguwara has given us food for thoughts and will provoke us to action on how we can build the resilience that we need to see. Join us on our subsequent edition as we bring to you more environmental conversations. Remember to visit our website, www.homef.org, and follow us on all our social media handles on Echo Homef. I remain your host, Kome Odomo.